Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my session on leveraging the limbo of online teaching. What is the limbo? I'm sure we're all thinking about this. And what do teachers feel about the limbo? And we're also going to touch upon the theoretical underpinnings of how the limbo could be leveraged and strategies that can be used to leverage the limbo. What is the limbo of online teaching? It is a zone of uncertainty where we are totally, we don't know whether we are going or coming, where we are. It's this zone between hell and heaven. And that's where we are stuck at the moment when it comes to online teaching, in a way, metaphorically. And the image that you see here on your screens is from a video game that's very popular. And in this video game, the main protagonist tries to maneuver all kinds of obstacles in a limbo to get to his goal. And it's a really bleak and sad and depressing scenario, but it's still limbo, and the dawn is around the corner, hopefully. So when we talk about the limbo of online teaching, yes, we're all facing this really, the zone of uncertainty. Everything is so, we are in the middle of things. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. So just a quick question. What do you think were the issues that teachers faced during the online teaching sessions, during this limbo, when they were navigating this limbo? Yes, demotivation. Yeah, it was my issue as well. Learning new technology, very, very, yes, pertinent. How to adapt, inability to see students' faces. Yes, yes, that's something that was that was a very, very big problem. We couldn't see our learners' faces. So how do we establish that rapport with them, right? And keeping students engaged. The ambiguity, yes, that, thank you so much. Ambiguity. That's also a very relevant word here. And yes, students' collaboration, all of these were major issues. Creating avatars, okay, that's interesting. Personal touch and rapport, yes, of course. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for all your comments. Now, when I was researching this subject, I came across a survey that was an ongoing survey that was commenced in November of last year. And it was initiated by the Cambridge University Press. And they had asked teachers from all over the world to talk about how they're dealing with online teaching and what were the issues they were facing. So one of the major issues they talked about was the amount of time that goes into preparing before a session. That seemed to be a very, very massive problem. And then more than half of the teachers thought students' progress was way slower now. It wasn't on par with the prep work they were putting in. And basically, if you go into the core issues of teaching online, like you said, it was teacher burnout, that intense mental and physical exhaustion. It was like just too much at times, yeah. And then navigating this steep digital learning curve, because not all of us are tech savvy. We have issues with the internet, with the learning apps. We had to unlearn and relearn so many things. And also, like all of you suggested, the motivation. Students' motivation was flagging most of the time. They were so demoralized, and it was hard to keep them engaged. So these were some of the major issues. When I was actually looking into how to leverage this limbo of online teaching, I came across an adult education theory that was very relevant to our scenario. And I was fascinated that there was a theory, a theoretical framework that actually included learners going through a crisis to alter their perceptions. This was amazing. I mean, when we are talking about leveraging this scenario, I mean, we have um, a learning theory that actually goes along with it. It's called the transformative learning theory, and it was postulated by Jack Mezirow, who was a very acclaimed expert on adult education. And what he said was that learner undergoes a paradigm shift when when he or she goes through a crisis in her learning experience or in her life experience. So, and the learner's interpretation of the crisis leads to changes in the learner's mindset, behavior, and the way they approach things in general. The three stages of transformative learning. First, there is the identification of crisis. And this crisis could be a learning crisis. For example, you have, for example, students who come into university with the rote memorization culture, and they think that all they need to do is to memorize and then write. And then they realize that's plagiarism. So that is a crisis they go through, a learning crisis. So when and this is just an example that I'm giving you. So first there is an identification of the crisis, then there is an establishment of relevance. Once they identify the crisis, they know that they have to alter their thinking mechanisms and their ideas of learning, their preconceived notions of learning. And then they go on to establish the relevance, because adults need to be absolutely sure of the purpose of why they're doing something. Once that's established, they're on board with you. And then they go on to critically reflect and alter their perceptions. So why am I talking about transformative theory? It's because it is so relevant to the COVID-19 situation that we are going through. COVID-19 could be the disorienting experience that would hopefully enable learners to transform their perspectives and have a more mature attitude towards learning and life in general. So here we are actually leveraging what we are going through. Now, theoretical, underpinnings apart, what we also need are concrete, tangible strategies, because without tangible strategies, we are nowhere. When we think about strategies that we use in class, could you maybe quickly write in the chat box what strategies you used to contend with this limbo? How did you manage? What were your pet strategies? Cooperative learning, flipped classrooms, learning platforms, collaborative learning, student-centered learning. You need to really scaffold what you're going to teach. Yes, the 4 C's, jump roping. Interesting. Project-based learning. Yes, capitalizing on learners' digital competence. That's wonderful, because yes, we are the immigrants in their world now, because they are the denizens of the digital world. Yes, and concept-based teaching. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, but now I'm going to focus on 3 strategies, tangible strategies that I was able to use, and I was, when Peter was talking about context, I was able to apply these strategies or these tools to different contexts, and that's why I'm sure of their efficacy. Now we are going to the strategies, and the 3 strategies that I'm going to focus on might seem a bit, like done to you, but I'm so fond of them and so sure of their efficacy that I just want to, elaborate on them. The first one is polling questions on BB for formative assessment. And the second one is the breakout sessions, like Okay, we'll dwell on that a little bit more. And then self-access centers. So these three were the techniques I used, and I'm sure a lot of you also used to contend with the limbo. So the first thing, polling questions. I love this feature on BB, and I'm going to miss it terribly when we start with face-to-face teaching. The reason why this was so effective was that, formative assessments are so crucial in class. It's the formative assessment that enables a teacher to realize, okay, that she's on the right track, that or she might need to modify her objectives, or she needs to adapt her techniques. So formative assessment is so crucial, and this can happen only through the polling feature. I'm not saying it cannot happen in face-to-face sessions. Yes, it's on Blackboard. Yes. The thing about face-to-face sessions is, I mean, if you're going to ask a concept checking question, you have to have a random sample from the students. I mean, you can't ask each and every student. But what happens with the polling question is that you get concrete, tangible data, about related to the number of students who are understanding that concept, who have grasped that concept, whether you need to move on to the next one or stick to the same one. It is this formative assessment that is the crucial distinguishing feature between a plain lecture on YouTube and an actual interactive lesson. So, and this was facilitated by the polling question. So they were my absolute favorite, and I used them for a variety of reasons. I would take attendance with them because you could just post a question, and then you could tell the students, you know what, those who do not answer would be marked absent. It's just like you're not actually going to do that, but that kind of gets everybody on board, and they answer the question, right or wrong. That they're with you. So polling questions also help you to bring your students back on track, and it's a tangible medium, as I said, for concept checking questions. And it's a novel and flexible attendance taking tool. The next thing I'm going to talk about is leveraging the breakout rooms. So breakout rooms they can be the best thing ever for teaching, or you can descend into total chaos with them. But there's also another side to breakout rooms. They cater to the basic tenets of cooperative learning. And when you talk about cooperative learning, the students need to believe that they have to work together, that they sink or swim together, or else it wouldn't work. And the way to do this is to give a role and a voice to each group member and hold them accountable for it when they come back to the main room. So this is one way of making your breakout sessions more, student friendly and student centered. But also, when you bring them back to the main room and ask them to relate to the rest of the class what happened, then they know that this is important. And the next time you have a breakout session, they are going to be on task. And the reason why I loved breakout sessions was that I actually noticed shy learners interacting with their group mates. They wouldn't. There were girls whose voices I had never heard ever, and I heard them in the breakout sessions. This was amazing. I don't think this could have happened in the face-to-face learning teaching sessions where you put them in groups in a classroom, because they still are in a class physically with others. But when they are in these breakout sessions, or we just for other members, they actually feel it's okay to talk. They have that safe space to interact. So this was wonderful. Now, about the virtual rooms, these are rooms that a teacher could make, and they're actually self-access centers for the students. I have to tell you a little bit about the background of this. I think it all started when I saw my sister trying to create a virtual room. It's actually called a Bitmoji classroom. And I was like, I thought about it, and I was like, why can't we use this as self-access centers, because this would actually cater to self-directed learning and learner autonomy. So this takes us to the Bitmoji classroom bit, and it's because this is not just for young learners. When I saw my sister dabbling with this, I was like, and she's become a pro at it. I was like, we can use this for adult learners as well. Make self-access centers for them where we can put all the links, the worksheets, the interactive stuff we have for them in one virtual room. If we go to an actual Bitmoji classroom. Bitmojis are those like little avatars that you have. So this is a Bitmoji classroom minus the Bitmojis. It actually serves the purpose of a self-access learning center. This one here is a self-access writing center that I made for my students. My students, this module had issues with writing, like multiple issues. One of them was their run-on sentences. They had so many run-on sentences in each paragraph that was hard to make out any sentences at all. So besides educating them or training them with the error codes, what this virtual room does is that it has all the links, all the resources that you've collected for them in one room. It's almost like a mini library exclusively made for your students. Okay, customized for your students. So if I click on the run-on sentences book, it takes me to an interactive Google worksheet, and this one here would take me to a worksheet that I prepared for them. So it's like I want to actually go there, but I'm worried. You can also see the link. So all the students have to do is hover around it and press the link, and it takes them right to the worksheet, the interactive worksheet. Or if you can see here, there is a Google Jamboard as well. So in this Jamboard, I had asked them to write a couple of sentences about their favorite holiday. So that link is there. So everything is inside this one virtual self-access center. You can even embed videos. The thing about this Bitmoji classroom thing is that you have so many videos on YouTube that show you how to make the Bitmoji classroom. It's super easy. You can start with the PowerPoint and start inserting things onto the slides, and then when it comes to the links, all you have to do is that when you prepare an interactive worksheet or anything, all you have to do is copy the link and then go to your slide, press insert, and insert the link. So it's really easy, and once you start doing it, you would know. But the actual idea is that everything is in one self-access center. Yeah, and once you prepare this, you can download it as PDF and mail it to your students. And all they have to, and all the links are there in the PDF. So they just have, yes, you have to use pictures on PowerPoint and just insert them. Like, for example, the background here, because I see so many questions there. All you have to do is like have a plain, if you have a plain PowerPoint slide, you go to insert and press pictures and look for plain background, like wall pictures. And then also remember to press transparent, because it has to be transparent. And then once you get the background, you can put everything else in. And once you put the concrete stuff, then you go to the links. The most important things are the links. But the point is that you have a customized self-access center for your students. Now, the advantages of self-access virtual centers is that it enables learner autonomy. You're actually nudging them towards learner autonomy. And it integrates multiple activities, links, interactive worksheets, Google Jamboard links, everything under the sun in one place. And once prepared, you can keep reusing it again and again and again. The first time I presented this year, I was talking about the strategy of using stars and badges. But the thing was, I have always recommended giving stars to the students, whenever they answer a question right. Give them stars or badges. But I had elaborated on this technique on my first presentation. But a couple of weeks back, I met one of my colleagues, and she was like, Lubna, that strategy you were talking about, I don't think it is very, doable. It's not very, applicable to all contexts. I was like, what do you mean? She said, I don't know. It's like, how many stars can you actually give? And she said it didn't work as well as you had suggested. So I asked her one question. I was like, did you add up the stars at the end of the session? Did you declare a winner? And she said, no, I didn't do that. And I was like, oh my God, that was the crucial step. You just can't give random stars, purposeless stars. I mean, the students need to be acknowledged, yes, but there should be a purpose at the end. You need to depute two students, maybe class reps, who can add up the stars, and then you can declare winners. Like, okay, these are the winners for today. These are the winners for the vocabulary round, and these are the winners for the reading round. So that was the fault that happened. I mean, when you give stars, you have to have a purpose and declare daily and weekly winners for whole sessions or part of a session, and make a big deal about the daily winners. Have like this loud clapping sound, or so you have to round it up for it to be effective. And the reason why I believe in the efficacy of this technique is that once I was asked to substitute towards the end of the module, I was petrified, because it was the end of the module, and the students are new, and they were lower level students, and I was like, how am I going to manage? But the star system worked even there. So that's why I'm like, this is effective, seriously effective. So if you want it to work, and this teacher actually tried, adding up the stars and declaring winners. And she told me that in spite of the fact that she had the most difficult of classes in her entire teaching experience, she saw a distinct improvement in participation. Okay, and so I was discussing about this with Miss Laura Davis, who is one of our very tech-savvy teachers at ELI, and she suggested that we could also start a leaderboard. I mean, where we give stars to the winners, and this leaderboard could be on a common link that the students can access, so that it is always updated. So that was a fault in our stars, and hopefully it would be fixed by the final step. Since we're always talking about how to contend with internet issues, the one thing that I thought was, infographics are so effective. They are such an in thing nowadays. Why don't we use infographic for teaching? I mean, like I mentioned before, my students this module have a huge problem with run-on sentences. They have problems with capital letters, with punctuation. So I thought, if I could put everything on an infographic, and the reason why I thought this would be good was that visuals enhance retention, and they could just they don't even have to they could just download it and could read it anytime they want. And it's always at your learner's disposal. It's short and concise, and it's available offline. So they could just go through it before the writing exam. So, okay, teacher said, I have to be very careful about run-on sentences, stay away from run-on sentences. My subject and verb should agree. My capital letters should be in the right place, and all of these things. And then you can customize it. See, like all the very best section VAJ. So this infographic is for them. You could just, and there are so many infographic templates on the internet that you could just use. And it's because it's so visually appealing. I had asked, a lot of my friends and relatives to talk about what they felt about online teaching. And these these are their quotes, some of the chosen ones, actually. I would give you a minute to read through them. One of my friends said it was like a roller coaster experience. It is, it was. It was like there were so many ups and downs. And on a serious note, one colleague from India was like, it's an excellent option for developing countries to tackle illiteracy. Yes, because you can take everybody on board with you. And it was a learning curve, of course, and overwhelming. And I also like this one by Dr. Farwa Hussein. She said, initially it was surreal, but now there's some semblance of normalcy. But my favorite quote was again from this website, which was the Cambridge University Press website about the survey, where one of the teachers had written this very cute comment. It's important to feel that I'm not alone in the way I feel. Notwithstanding the structural issues in this comment, it captures the essence of how we can leverage this limbo. Together, we can beat the limbo. And I think this TESOL platform is like an epitome of this whole idea of working and experiencing things together. And I'm so happy I was able to share all this with you.